I'm Ray Minton, and I have the pleasure of teaching yoga for the Orange City Area Health System. And we are doing a series of add-on classes. So in our foundation classes, we were looking at challenge as the point for the mind to have a focus. This is a series that's looking at courage. So courage is a quality of the mind or spirit that enables a person to face challenges, dangers, and or pain without fear. This is going to be a hip opening series. So if you'd seen the prior ones that we've worked on, we did a downward facing dog and advancing warrior. Those are a little more heating. The hip openers are a little more cooling. Now they're not necessarily easier because being seated can be challenging. So if you find that some of this is harder to do than when you're stepping and flowing, then be kind to yourself. We're going to find a place where our hands are back and we're going to stretch our legs out. Like all of our practices, we just want to have a little space that's for ourselves, using a yoga or a sticky mat, maybe a blanket or a carpeted area, somewhere for you to feel calm and safe. Hip openers can be very dynamic in the fact that we store a lot in the hips. They're a place of mobility as well as stability. So they also encompass the energy of the legs and that compression of our trunk. So we're going to start by bringing the right leg in. We're just going to warm the hands a little bit. And those nice warm hands, you're going to take and brush on the top of the foot, just to say hello to the foot. Sometimes the knee takes the brunt of our stretches, sometimes the ankles do. We're going to stir around that ankle joint when the hips are tight. So just noticing if these lower extremity joints have anything to say to you. We're going to find ourselves linking the fingers and kind of scrubbing the shins. We're going to go back and knead into the calf, just thanking all these muscles for all they do to keep us upright. We're going to step that foot forward a little bit so we can shoe shine around the knee, making sure that the tendons, the ligaments are warm as well. And then we're going to do a little bit of a hinge back. I want you to take your right hand back because we're going to tap into that left thigh. So big quadriceps, they are like straighteners, and we're just getting those muscles so they soften. Remember, we're tapping so the muscles bounce. We're not tapping to beat them into submission. After that little bit of a tap, energize your right leg so you can step your left foot over. Just hold that shin a little bit, and we're going to tap down the outside of this leg. And we're going along what's called the IT band, or the iliotibial band, and we're going into the glutes, which are your big hip movers. When we get to the knee, let's just go ahead and do a little figure four cross. This already feels like a stretch. You can prop something underneath it, and then we're going to do a little double tap. We're going to free up the inner part of this thigh. Nice. We're going to pick that knee up. We're going to step back to neutral, and then anything this leg doesn't need, we're just going to brush it off. Take a moment, just let the legs be out long and see if there's any different quality to this leg compared to the leg you haven't touched. Just noticing how important touch is for changing our awareness of the body and also increasing circulation. So we're going to bring the right leg in, warmed hands already, so we're going to take and brush on the top of the foot, maybe in between the toes if you feel like they've been trapped in shoes too much. Circle around the ankle joint, linking the fingers, brushing the shin muscles. They're the ones that pick your toes up. Getting back behind the knee and kneading like a little cat, freeing up those calf muscles. They're what lift your body up. I'm going to step this foot forward a little bit. We're going to circle around the knee joint. And then we're going to take the left hand hinge back so you can tap into the front of your right thigh. Big muscles here, quadriceps. The anatomical name is vastus. We've got the vast quality of our thigh, so we've got vastus lateralis, medialis, intermedialis, and our rectus femoris. Big muscles because they're most of our thigh bone. We're going to cross over, we're going to hold on, and we're going to tap. This is that IT band and our vastus lateralis. Getting into the hip, the glute muscles, the gluteals. And then when we get to the knee, we're just going to find that little figure four crossover. Keep that right foot active so it protects the knee and the ankle joint, and you're just going to do a little double tap. This is our vastus medialis and our adductor team. They are not only leg movers, but they are hip movers, right? Because the legs and hips go together. Nice. And you can pick that knee up. You're gonna step it out and just brush this leg off. Just to make sure that we've said hello to the legs. So we're gonna give them a little bounce. We're gonna move the cheeks back. So we're balanced on sit bones rather than rounding and sitting on our spine. We're gonna take the left leg in, and then the right is gonna be in front of it. Once again, you might like to tip to move the flesh of your cheeks out. Now notice with my right leg open, I'm gonna stir to my left. So hands are on the knees. I'm gonna come forward and I'm gonna stir to my left and back and to the right. And it's just a little rock and roll called Suki rolls. This is to take the torso, the trunk, and stir around those hip joints. Nice, then you're gonna stir to the sit bones. We're gonna pick the right leg up. We're gonna stretch the left leg out. It's super active, so toes come to shin, kneecap is lifting, so we activate those quadriceps. We're gonna do what's called rock the baby. So some babies like to be close, others not so much. If you find, whoo, this hip is tight, you might find that you rock from here, right? Holding the foot and over by the knee. Some babies love to snuggle up. If you wanna hook it in the elbow crease and do a little wrap, we just wanna open and close this joint a little bit. So just rocking the baby. Kind of seeing what you need, and the body will be very different side to side. So see if you can set aside criticizing, right? We're curious people. Nice. After rocking the baby, we're gonna shift a little to our left hip so we can kick the right heel in. And then we're gonna take a step over with this right leg. So left heel comes to right hip, right leg is stepping over, and then we're gonna shift the hip so that we're balanced here. We're gonna hug around the knee. We're gonna bring our right hand behind us so we can sit tall. And then as you exhale, you're gonna find a little rotation. This is Ardha Matsyendrasana, it's called a half fish. If you're someone who likes to tuck to the outside of the thigh, feel free. This is not just a spinal rotation, this is also good for opening up that left hip and into your low back. Take a nice big in breath. And as you exhale, release this twist. We're gonna take the left hand, now it's back behind us, and the right arm is gonna slip on the inside of our shin. We're gonna tuck the fingertips into the arch of the foot, and we're gonna open the front of the left hip. So you're gonna feel a very different target here. Hips are not just the meat on the back, not just your glutes. They're all the muscles that wrap from the inner thigh to the hip flexors. Nice, take a big inhale. This is our open Ardha Matsyendrasana, the half fish. Exhale will come to center. Very dynamic and challenging pose is called Gomukhasana, or cow face. We're just gonna focus on the lower body. So we're gonna take that right heel and bring it to our left hip and see if we can't start to stack our knees. And they can be as stacked as is comfortable. The feet, they're active. We kind of settle those hips in between them. If you need to prop yourself onto a blanket, a block, a pillow, feel free. Fingertips are back behind us so we can lift the chest. And then we're just gonna curl and soften forward. Big hip stretch. So we're going to the outer part of our hips here because the legs are externally rotated. Soften your shoulders, relax your neck and jaw. Just let the whole upper body weight open the lower body. Take one more deep in breath. Let your breath go. Sighs are very cleansing and freeing. Then the inhale is what's going to bring you back to seated. We're going to go into what's known as a double pigeon. So a single pigeon has one leg forward and one leg back. A double pigeon, both the legs are forward. So we'll move our left leg so that it's parallel to the length of our mat, and then we're going to stack this right leg on top. Notice I've got some space here. That could be true for a lot of you. If you find that this knee touches the foot, then hip opening probably isn't the series that you're needing the most. Just keep that in mind. Not that it's bad, we all just need something different. We're gonna go into a little more roll externally to this right thigh. So rather than pressing down, I want you to think of rolling this thigh bone out. We're gonna take our left fingertips to the side, and then we're gonna find the inner part of that thigh, and we're just gonna let that leg roll, and we're gonna open through that hip flexor and through the waistline a little bit. So Devi Pada Kopattanasana, we're taking it to the side, so that's our Parvo. Nice. We'll take a big in-breath. We'll walk those left fingertips in, and then fingertips go back. I want you to notice what happens to that space of the knee. We're going to take this double pigeon for a fold forward. Inhale. Exhale. You're going to bring your chest forward, and then when you can't bring the chest any further, you're just going to let your head go. Notice shifting the pelvis angle. Now change the quality in my hips. I'm just going to let myself go. It's a gentle press. I'm not forcing my body into shapes. Another in-breath is what gives me the lightness to lift my chest. Nice. We're going to find ourselves going into heron pose. So we're going to tuck that left heel in a little bit again. We're going to find either the knee, the outer part of the shin, or a baby toe. And we're going to take a big twist. So inhale, kick, opening the hamstrings, and use that leg strength to let you twist to your right again. If you're like, whoa, that is killing my hamstrings, remember, you can go here, right? We are looking for results of opening rather than forcing. Kundyanasana, this is our heron pose. Take another big inhale. And as you exhale, you're going to come forward, put a little bend in this right knee. We're going to sit more to the left so we can tuck this right knee into our left arch. My right hip is light, my left hip is anchored, and I'm watching the pinwheel of my knees to turn myself to the left. I'm going to keep turning until I feel some nice deep rotation. You can stay high, you can come down to your forearms, you can let your whole body drop. Lower's not better, it's just different. This is to wring out the low back. Sometimes people will say, is it my hip or my low back? Yes, it can be either, it can be both. This is Siddhantalasana, the resting animal. Take a big inhale. If you're low, up you go. Coming back to center. Nice. We're going to find that right leg in front of the left. And we're just going to see the effects of working to open up the hips. And then we switch. We're going to go to the other side. Remember, this side can be very different, so don't expect the same results. Just allow them to be what they are. Suki rolls. We're going to take an inhale, and we're going to rock to the right, and we're going to roll to our tail, and we're going to roll left, and we're just going to spin the body around. Remember, this is a gentle lubrication for the hips using the upper body. Nice. After we rock back to center, we're going to pick this knee up, and we're going to go into our rocking the baby. So let's go ahead and stretch and get really active through the right leg. Remember, this baby might like this much space. It might come in closer. You might be able to cradle. This isn't better. It's just different, right? As long as you're holding onto the leg and rocking the knee to the side and a little to the chest, you're rocking that baby, right? This could be your rock the baby. Be nice to yourself. Maybe you've had an injury to the knee, and so this baby doesn't want to be close. Maybe you've had plantar fasciitis or a hip replacement. We just want to be sweet. Take a big inhale. Rock back to center. We're going to tip to that right hip so that we can kick the right leg back to us. We're going to step this left foot over. So right heel to left hip, stepping left foot over, we're going to settle our sit bones. Going into the other half of our Ardha Matsyendrasana. The half fish, we're going to reach the left arm back. We're going to give that left knee a little wrap. We lengthen. And then the exhale is our twist. Now, depending on bone length, maybe you're really long through the torso, and so you have to almost curl to get to the knee. Then a tuck is better, right? But if this is starting to get way too deep, remember, there's lots of variations. Let yourself explore and play. We're thinking about wringing out the hip, releasing the spine. We take a nice big in-breath. Ardha Matsyendrasana. Exhale, we come back to center. Now the right hand is back behind us. The left hand, it goes to the inner part of your shin. We tuck those fingertips into the arch. And as we twist to this open space, this is for the right hip flexor, so the right crease in the hip. Very different place. Take another in-breath. And then as you exhale, come to center. Getting into that big dynamic hip opener of Gomukhasana. We're going to find ourselves hugging that left heel to the right hip. We're going to settle the hips. Remember, if you need a block or you want a blanket or a pillow, you need to be stacks high, that's fine. Because bringing these knees into each other is challenging. Keep the feet really active so that you protect those joints. Fingertips are back, just focusing on the upper body to release the hips. Exhale, soften. So one of the more challenging things to do in life is let go. It sounds so simple, but it is not easy. So see if you can find the breath to let your upper body go, hanging over those legs. Let the tension and strength in your legs and hips release. Nourish them with your breath. From our Gomukhasana, cow face pose, take an inhale, slowly lift the chest. We're gonna find ourselves bringing that right shin so it's parallel to the mat. We're gonna stack. You might find, woo, this hip is tighter, right? That's fine. We're gonna think about rolling the thigh bone out. These are all to relax the hip. You don't need to be flexible to do this. If you do, you probably need another series. You already have that built in your structure. Let's go ahead and walk our right fingertips out. The left fingers are on the inner thigh, rolling the thigh bone, and we're just gonna hang. Devi, Pada Koputtanasana, that's our double pigeon, Parvo to the side. Just see if that hip can soften. Take another big in-breath and let the fingertips walk you back to center. And now the fingertips will go back. Notice when I decrease that hip space, the knee starts to soften. Exhale is when you go forward. Now, if you still have a lot of air space here, don't worry about that. Notice what it's like in a week, in a month, in a year from now. That's how we see progress. That's how we see things transform. Have the courage to stick with it. Here's your in-breath, letting yourself come up. We're gonna go into that heron pose. So let's kick this right heel back, find the knee, the shin, or the ankle. Big inhale is the kick, and the reach, adding our twist. So this is about hamstrings. Remember, tight, hold to the back of the knee, right? But let yourself fly. Feel the freedom of the hips and the legs releasing. Take another in breath, Kundyanasana. Exhale, come forward, put a bend in the knee. We're gonna swing this knee to the right arch of our foot. Notice how this hip is high. This right hip is anchored. We're gonna follow the pinwheel of the knees. I'm gonna twist and turn. You might even end up going off your mat. Stay upright. It's gonna focus a little more on those low back muscles that hook to the ribs higher. The lower you go, the more they focus into the lower part. This is called the quadratus lumborum. Super important, powerful low back muscle that helps articulate and move the hips. So yes, hips and low backs are connected. In your resting animal, take another big inhale. If you were low, up you go. Coming back to center. We're gonna find our simple seated pose, not always easy. Our Sukhasana, just to let yourself explore. See how your body feels. Is there any difference? Is it a little more comfortable to sit? Remember, seated poses are not physically demanding in exertion, but they can be very challenging in comfort. So as you find yourself sitting here, I just want to offer this little food for thought. It is better to find courage to make changes when you can choose to, rather than being forced to. If you do not make change, change will make you. That's Roy T. Bennett. Thank you for taking on the challenge, coming to the mat, and trying to free up those hips. Namaste.